Hi, welcome to the podcast today. I am interviewing Amanda Christensen. Amanda is a Utah State University Extension professor, and her specialty is in personal and family finance. She's also the director of a statewide Empowering Financial Wellness grant program, and she has spent her entire life helping people take control of their financial futures, whether through their Utah Money Matters platform, TV and radio segments, or award-winning programs. Her goal is to provide people with real-life money smarts that empowers everyone to succeed. She is passionate about seeing women achieve financial wellness, and she is here to help them every step of the way. Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. We are excited, and I've seen you live a couple of times for the past 2 years. I went to the Women in the Money conference here in Utah, and I've seen you speak, and it was really great. So I decided to call you up and have you on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're connected with that conference. It's a great opportunity. Love that.
It is, especially for the locals, whoever is here in Utah. Make sure that you check that out. It's usually in September, right? So then you can get a ticket, and it's very affordable, and it's a fun time. They feed us good food. Last time I actually did, based on your talk on the 45 frugals.
Yes,
was that the list?
Joys. Yeah, we love that.
The joys. I did that on site. I sat in a room somewhere and I recorded over there because it was so great. I was like, oh, you got to think about this, because sometimes you think that to be happy, you have to spend a lot of money, and that's not true, right?
Well, it isn't true. Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
so introduce yourself a little bit. I read your bio, but go ahead and introduce a little bit of yourself. What are you doing right now, and how did you get to the position you are?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a mom to 2 awesome kiddos, and my spouse and I raised those kiddos together. And that is fun to teach them about, they're 8 and 2. So we teach them about money in 2 different ways than I do in my professional life. I teach adults personal finance education, and I love doing that because I love the light bulb moments that adults have when they think there's no hope, or maybe they don't understand, and when we can change that to a feeling of hope and that there's a positive side to managing your money and feeling fulfilled in your money decisions, that gives me a lot of joy. So I've taught for about 16 years. I've been an accredited financial counselor for about 5 years, 6 years now. Time flies. And I love that process as well, helping people understand their choices because there are so many choices when it comes to money. Personal finance is personal. And so I love carrying that mantra through everything I do and teaching people. And I think reliable financial advice can be hard to find. I mean, a lot of people out online willing to tell you their opinion about money and how they think you should manage money. And at the end of the day, we have to know the best practices and then decide for ourselves. So I love helping people decide what works for them personally.
Yeah, sometimes a program works for us, but it might not work for someone else. So offering different solutions or different ways that they can get to their goals, that's really important. And there are truths that are truths. And especially in finances, we know that if we spend more than we make, we're going to be in debt, right? We're not going to have that safety. So I like this part of the mathematical about the money. So tell us a little bit about your life growing up, and way back there, how was your family with money? How did you start learning? Did your parents talk to you about money and so forth?
Oh, yes. I have early money memories. I remember the sound my dad would get on, and he used Quicken for personal finance software. And I remember the sound that there's a cha-ching sound that it makes every time you enter a receipt or an expense or a deposit. And this was back before it wasn't connecting automatically to your bank account, right? And pulling those transactions automatically. So he was doing all of that manually. And that's just a sound memory. And that's something I can remember my family doing. I can remember learning at a young age to save a portion of my money, to donate a portion of my money. I grew up a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so learning 10% tithing is something that, as a principle, I live by still. And at the time, I remember learning that as well, that, and then what was left over for spending. And so, fun memories like that. I also have memories of times when money was tight and there were difficult times. When my grandfather passed away, both of my parents found themselves out of a job because they
Oh,
both worked for him.
oh,
And so, so difficult times as well. And grateful for that, as well as the good, the positive money memories, because that's all sort of shaped my trajectory now.
hmm. Did they talk to you about money or it was all mostly observation?
Yes, they talked to me about planning and being purposeful with money, but
Mhm.
then I observed what was going on with
Mhm.
their money situation. They didn't ever come to me and say, we're really struggling right now. I think they wanted, I don't think that's something we would say to our kids always. We don't want to put them in a place. I
Right.
never felt vulnerable as a child.
Mhm.
I never experienced child poverty or, what I mean? I never experienced
Yes.
anything remotely close to that. So I can't speak to those feelings. So I was taught to be purposeful with money, and then I observed
Mhm.
when things were tight too, and when there were struggles with money. Yeah.
Right. How did your parents reinvent themselves since they were out of the job?
Oh, well, my mom was a very skilled nurse, so she got jobs elsewhere, and my father was a medical practice manager, so he also just managed he same thing, got jobs elsewhere, and then they both kind of continued education and trying to think, they've both done really well after the
Mhm.
fact, but yeah, that it kind of forced them to
Stretch a little bit, right?
yeah, yep.
Expand. Uh-huh. So, was there a specific event or defining experience that helped you in your financial journey?
I can remember my husband and I, so we experienced infertility early on in our marriage. It took us 5 years to have our son. And I can remember the medical debt that started piling up as a result of trying to start a family. And when we were headed in to do our IVF cycle and the
Mhm.
expense of IVF, and that's not
Yes.
covered by insurance.
Mhm.
So that was the first time. I mean, that was a lot of debt to take on almost overnight.
Mhm.
You take on tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And but that was the only choice. I mean, we were confident in that decision to move forward, but I can remember the feeling that gave me of the debt burden, the feeling, that stuck with me. And I think it has helped me empathize as an educator and a creator of content, as I talk with people about money. We just can't let the defining moment for me was realizing that debt isn't doesn't define who I am personally.
Right.
It doesn't. It's separate. It's
Only
not.
worth.
Yes, we associate worth, though. We do. We talk about debt as if it's bad always, and I think we have to be careful how we place those kinds of feelings, because people can then internalize those things and think that they're bad if they have debt.
Mhm.
So learning to separate the debt is not me. It's not a personal reflection of me, but then also to hunker down and work as hard as I could to pay it off.
Right.
So that has definitely been a defining moment for me.
Mhm. And we see that you have two kids now. Did you have to go to two cycles?
We had our first child, and
Sorry
he
if
was
it's too personal. You don't need to answer.
no, I don't mind talking about it at all.
Okay.
Our first child was born with our first IVF cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So successful right off the bat. So we thought, great, that'll be easy,
Mm-hmm.
easy peasy. And about five failed IVF cycles later, we realized this is not the path for us. There is another way.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not how, we felt like there was another child, but this was not the way. Obviously, we
Mm-hmm.
were.
Yes.
So we started the adoption process,
Mm-hmm.
and we were able to adopt our daughter in February of.
Time, so you have that preparation, right?
Yes, and mentally, emotionally, that was a very different experience. Because again, tens of thousands of dollars
Right.
in debt,
Mm-hmm.
but very different experience for me that time. The night, yes, yep,
Excellent. That's great. So, you mentioned that you're a member of the church, and a lot of my listeners are a member of the church. How did the spirituality play a part in you developing your financial knowledge, application, and in your journey?
great question. I think I learned from the scriptures that we're taught to be wise with money, and that money, that it can steer us and make us, can make us act in ways that are not our typical, make us treat people in ways that we wouldn't typically treat them, make us, it can be a master, it can become a master if we let it. So with all this talk about money, I think my background religiously and spiritually has really shaped learning that money is, that learning to manage money is a skill, and that we can use our money particularly to help others, and that has been a sweet, sweet experience in throughout my life to be able to do that, but and then also to receive help as well, and receive help graciously from others.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are some ways that I think that I have been impacted, or that my spirituality has affected that, and had influence on it. I still pay a 10% tithe, and I have seen really great blessings come from that effort, as the scriptures tell us that do. So I have put that to the test, and have found that to be true for myself. And so that's something I continue to do.
Do you still carry anything that you learned in your youth with someone that was impactful for you, or something that you learned back then I know the tithing. Is there anything else that you remember that you still do because you learned that from someone?
I had a really impactful, so this was in my later, my
Hmm.
in college, I had a really impactful professor who taught us about a principle called the step down principle.
Hmm.
And Elena Johnson, and she has since retired, but she taught for years and years the personal finance class at Utah State, kind of the entry level class. And she taught us about the step down principle, which was a really aha moment for me in personal financial management, and just quick, briefly, the idea of the principle is that if you envision a staircase
Mm-hmm.
in your mind, and at the very top of the staircase is, we'll use going to the movies as an example. The most expensive way to go see a movie today is prime time, new release, the
Mm-hmm.
D-box seats, popcorn, soda, a treat.
Opening night.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
right. So that's the most expensive way to do that. Or, and then at the very bottom of the staircase, you would envision the least expensive way to have that experience, and still have a going out to the movies experience, but maybe it's a matinee during the day and you bring your own treats, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she taught us that, and I realized that just helped me see that there are ways to feel fulfilled with our spending and joy in our spending without maxing out and keep at the very highest level of that spending.
Right.
And that has stuck with me, and even now I teach my 8-year-old that I use that all the time. That principle is very ingrained in either how expensive is there a way I can do this and have this experience a little less expensively, or the number of times I'm going out to eat. Can I step down
Right. Mm-hmm.
because inflation and economy right now, if I mean, I think we've all had to pivot in our spending
Right.
some way to
Yes.
keep up with what's going on. And that has just always been ingrained. It just applies in every situation. So shout out to Alina Johnson and the step down principle. That has molded and stuck with me forever.
Absolutely. I love
Yeah,
the visual of the steps. I love it. Thank you. It
great.
was
Yeah.
great. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
And so, was there anything negative from your past in while you're growing up, or maybe while you're at college, about money that you had to reconcile? And how did you do that?
Well, I remember particularly an experience I calling my mom crying because I had a $0
Mm-hmm.
in my checking account and I just felt kind of like a failure. I was in between paychecks and that, wasn't really something I was used to feeling on normally. I just remember calling her and needing some guidance there and hearing again that I wasn't a failure. The money's coming. What can we do in the meantime to get you through? And thank heavens I had that lifeline or that person. It wasn't, in hindsight, it wasn't as big a deal, really. Like I was okay. My bills were paid. I had food. You know what I mean? I was okay. But I remember that feeling of scarcity still to this day and of being upset with myself and um, calling my mom and I just remember feeling a lot better after I talked to her, realizing that she was there to help me, but also I was on the right path. I
Mm-hmm. Yes,
wasn't
yes.
doing anything wrong. Just sometimes we have those experiences or we make spending decisions that leave us with a zero in our checking account and we think,
Right.
wait a minute, could I
Yes.
have made a better decision?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so those are common things that everyone experiences. Very common thing to experience
Right.
feeling of scarcity or
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that stuck with me in my gut, that feeling. And I don't, I, you know, I that we just remember those kind of negative things stick with us, and
Mm-hmm.
we try to avoid make choices that help us avoid those feelings
Yeah.
in the future. But I think a lot of people maybe now struggling with feelings of scarcity or not having enough and more regularly. And,
Mm-hmm.
that's why we teach, that's why I do what I do to help people to learn and empower their financial wellness so that they don't have to feel those feelings regularly.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as you said, our problems are really our emotions about whatever the situation we're going through. So you said that when you were going through that, then you had that feeling, that crushing, it's heavy, and you never had that before. It's a lot, and and that's what was creating your emotional state of just feeling so distressed. I was feeling very distressed when I had a lot of debt. And I would blame myself for not making better decisions, for not choosing a different path and those things. And I think sometimes, and of course, when you're feeling like that, you're not going to make the best choices because our brain just trying to prove us that we are right. So we keep making other mistakes along the way.
So true. Yes.
So working on our mindset, on our beliefs, those beliefs that that is not a good thing, then just you can make progress and still have the debt. I'm making progress. I have a plan, and just feel at peace and keep moving. Right. I
Yeah.
think that's a better emotion to go through.
Yeah.
Now, you told me you're a mom. So tell me a little bit of the things that you do with your kids to teach about money.
Oh, this is fun at 8 and 2. I mean, our 2-year-old, we're not really doing much yet. So, she's that'll be fun. I can already see that she loves her shoes and she loves Minnie
Mhm.
Mouse and it's going to be fun when that time comes. Our 8-year-old, we've done, a couple of things. One, teaching and we've set up a 529 account for him
Mhm.
for college and he knows it's there and he knows that we contribute to it and he knows that some of the money he receives when he receives money for a birthday or Christmas, that some of that money goes to that account.
Mm-hmm.
And he's aware of that. I'm not sure how much that's really sinking in at 8 years old, but he's aware that that's happening, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
And
part of the routine. It's probably he's just thinking this is the way we do life. It's
yes,
just what we do.
so we do.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's also aware of earning money and donating himself a 10% tithe when he earns money, and what that money, why we've
What are
been,
they doing with this money? What do we do?
yes, where does it go, what does it do, and why is it better if, why wouldn't we just keep it and ourselves, and some of the, so those have been some
Mm-hmm.
fun discussions about what we've believe and choose to do that way. And then spending decisions have been really fun. We've done, helping him see there's a lot of choices. He loves Legos, for example, and he loves to read books. It
Mm-hmm.
would be hard for him to choose the, to purchase a book or to purchase a Lego. Those decisions take time. He's overwhelmed a lot by, I think, the number of choices there are.
Right,
And
right.
so it has been fun to talk through spending decisions with him, and, well, what do you already have, and what do you not have? What do you most enjoy reading? What
Mm-hmm.
what would challenge you a little bit in your reading? Only
Mm-hmm.
that's how mom
Yes.
teaches her to
Uh-huh.
spend, right? And those have been fun conversations. The advice is usually followed, we usually
Mm-hmm. Do
usually
afterwards, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Is the
Uh,
lesson, right? It's recognizing the lesson, right? And
yes.
reflecting. That's
And
really
then I hear him say things like, "Mom, how can I earn some money?
mm-hmm.
Could I do?" And that has been a great, as he's gotten older and is able to do more things.
Mm-hmm.
And I every time he asks me, "Mom, how can I earn some money?" I make a way for him to do
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
because fostering entrepreneurship, or fostering the ability to learn, the opportunity to learn. I do work,
Mm-hmm.
and I earn my
Yeah,
what
that
I
make that
work.
connection, right?
Yes, like that's a very important thing to teach children before they leave home, and to provide. If I don't provide those opportunities,
Yeah,
who does? Nobody does, until he's old enough to get a job outside of the home, right?
right.
So that has been fun to lean into his desire to earn,
Mm-hmm.
and help with his spending decisions, help with charitable giving, and then teach
Mm-hmm.
him that we are saving for his
Mm-hmm.
future. And those are all things that we would do with our daughter as well when she's old enough. So
Yeah, it's fun. I had kids a long time ago, and they were little 20 years ago, one of
yeah,
them. And that's when we got through paying off all our debt. So then we start doing more, we use envelopes at that time. We're using more
yeah,
cash. And now my 15, she has a debit card for the past 3 years. And we've been teaching her how to look at things. And there are options, right? There's so many options. We always try to narrow to two because that makes our brain easier to choose between one and the other. And then help her see, okay, are you going to buy this on Amazon, or do you want to go to a store and buy that? And then she gets overwhelmed at so many stores at the mall, but then we're teaching those options, right? And it's so good that you're helping your kids to know the options and I didn't hear you saying this is a bad choice of your money, how you spend your money, but he's getting the consequences. And then you guys talk about it to see the lesson, right?
yes,
And
yeah.
when you do give a little advice beforehand, what happens? Does he usually follow you guys' advices, or does he still do on his own and then you have another lesson to teach? Or
Sure. I think it's a little bit of both. Uh, I think it's a little bit of both. There are times when he'll decide, "Oh yeah, I've got $15 already, but if I wait till I have $20, I'll be able to get this," right? Or it's,
hmm?
"No, I want to go spend this right now. Can we go to the dollar
Yes.
store? Or can we go right?
Uh-huh.
I want to go. Can we go walk around?"
Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's very aware of, Amazon, and that you can search, you can see everything, you can just search and scroll and
Right.
see Amazon. So, we there's probably a little bit of both, which is fun.
Yeah, and that's what you said. They need to learn that before they leave the house. It's better for them to learn before they leave the house, right? Is the training wheels. We're giving them the training wheels
Yes, well said. Yes.
and taking them off little by little. That way we're there to steer them when they're tipping over, right?
Right.
So, um, how do you continue to grow in your financial understanding? Because you're always teaching, you're always reaching out to the community, but how do you grow in your understanding?
Oh yeah, great question. I have some outlets for professional development that I frequent. So the
Mhm,
Association for Financial Counseling and Planning Education,
mhm.
I subscribe to their journal and I love attending their conference. So certainly there's the formal ways, right, that we
Right. Mhm,
further I keep up CEUs that way too
mhm,
and have done those things. I also on the day to day, which is something I think anyone can do. It doesn't, we all we all can do this. I love subscribing. I have some favorite e-newsletters that just come right to my inbox
mhm,
that I read regularly. And there's a couple. I don't really listen to any one podcast
mhm,
regularly with regards to money, particularly, but I like episodes of many different podcasts. Um, I've done some trainings as they come up and are available.
mhm.
I love being with other educators in person and doing trainings together where we learn from each other. I
Mhm.
think that is really enlightening. So a lot of things on the day to day, though, there's really so much at our fingertips that we can be learning. Whether it's I just hosted a book club where and we read a book, we read a personal finance book every year in April as part of this book club, and I love reading and talking about how what are you getting out of the
Mhm.
book, what did I take from the book, and we both learn together, and that's just so fun. So reading and podcast listening and then as I study to teach as well, then
Yes.
always learning new. It's interesting. There's always research being done or
Mhm,
about debt levels in America, or we know that recently the number of credit card applications have sort of skyrocketed in
mhm.
our country. So keeping up to date on the statistics and the current
Right.
economic, what people are saying about their debt burden. And
Mhm,
oh, that is always, it can be overwhelming, but it is intriguing to me. And it's something I'm really passionate about continuing to learn always.
mhm. And it's important to know so you can talk to people and understand what they're going through when we're trying to teach them, right?
Yeah.
Understand what they're
Yes.
feeling and the situation they probably gonna be on if we have that many credit cards applications. It always keeps very current. And I
Yes.
appreciate you sharing that. Is there a book or someone that you like that talked about money that you follow, that you listen to, read more books?
Oh, I really like, let's see, I really liked there's a couple that
Mm-hmm.
I really liked David Bach. He's the Latte Factor,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the author of a number of personal finance books. David Bach has written quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit. So I like him. I like what he's written. I also have recently, in the past couple of years, found Ashley Feinstein Gertzley, and she wrote the 30-Day Money Cleanse.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a pretty good step by step what someone would need to do if they really needed to be in the details of their spending
Okay.
and pivoting a little bit. And I found that was really helpful. No, she's not trying to shame you for how you're
Mhm.
spending. In fact, this is quite the opposite I found. And I think that is a really refreshing take on teaching people to to be smart about their spending doesn't mean to cut out everything that they love. And
Mm-hmm.
I loved her approach to
Yeah.
that. That's also where I found the frugal joys
Mm-hmm.
and learning to consider just how much joy there is in. And for me, one of my favorite frugal joys is a puzzle
Mm-hmm.
and a Diet Coke and a podcast in my ear. And
Okay.
I could
You're a happy camper.
hours. Yes, I could spend hours in that frugal joy moment. So
Right. And it costs you what? Barely the soda can and the puzzle.
yeah,
That's
truly,
it. Yeah. And you
truly.
might even have it at home already. So yeah,
Yes, and
that's
my
good.
tip for you didn't ask, but I'll tell you,
Mm-hmm.
my
Oh
tip
yeah.
for puzzles is Savers or the DI.
Oh
People
yeah.
people donate their puzzles all the time, and I
Barely open, right?
that's where I go, and I
Mhm.
find them, and they're like $3, and they're my favorite.
Yes.
It's my favorite.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, it finding, it's that what you talked about, the step down. You found the best way
Yep.
to approach that and gives you so much joy. So why not, right? So
Yeah.
let's go back to finish. Let's go back to that time when you were going through trying to get pregnant and doing IVF. And think
Mhm.
about that mom that's there right now. What would you tell her, either emotionally, of course, we're talking about money and the difficulties that you went through, but how could give her some hope?
Sure. Well, related to the money side of that issue, I would tell her that this is temporary, that this current feeling or this need, this is temporary. And your inability, sometimes we focus on our inadequacies, but to try to focus on the positive aspects of how grateful we are that there's financing available, that there's credit available, that there's a possibility and a path to this thing that you want more than anything else. And sometimes debt is that path. And when carefully considered, that is the way to go. So it's not a personal reflection. So two things. It's
Mhm.
temporary, right? Like
Mhm.
this will not be always your situation. So be okay with the now and that it's temporary, and then really realizing that it doesn't define you. It doesn't define your personal worth. Your personal worth is so much greater, and your potential. So using it as the tool, debt is the tool, it's the means to an end. It is it is the resource in that case to your
Mhm.
dreams. And you've got this. You can do it. You are capable
Mhm.
of managing and of then digging out of the debt as well.
Right.
That that will happen. That opportunity will come to better your situation as long as we're
Mhm.
consistently seeking for that.
Is there anything from the researching or finding a place to do or finding how many rounds you're going to do that before? Do you think that would help as well?
Oh, it's interesting. In my case, many people have infertility that they get a diagnosis and then there's a reason and they know for sure what
Mhm.
the issue is that's not how they're not able to get pregnant. And then they're able to tweak that
Mhm.
component, and then it's pretty well
Easier
more of a
to
sure
fix,
thing.
yeah, to
Yeah.
get it working.
Um, I had my diagnosis is unexplained infertility. So
Oh.
they just were trying every avenue. They were trying to
Mhm.
every variable, every possible thing. So there was no we just didn't know, like we really couldn't put a sure thing
Mhm.
on it. So the doctors are, and most infertility clinics have packages that you buy
Mhm.
that include, which I felt like was a good option because
Mhm.
it helped me mentally and emotionally kind of disconnect and realize, okay, I can, I have,
It
I'm
doesn't
buying
have to be
a package.
now. right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I have time here and it's good. And so those are that I think that is helpful looking at your clinics that have the
Mhm.
packages that come with and working with your doctor. Very individual decisions there, obviously, about based on the cause of your infertility and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And always, I've done that before where you look into two or three different clinics or programs
Yeah.
because it's not because you found one that's going to be that's the one, right?
Very,
Look for prices because they vary a lot with the prices. And
yeah,
just like you said, some of them offer guarantee and one they offer like 3 rounds. So there's um a large range of prices. So try
yeah,
to do with the least amount of money that you can. If you have to get that in debt, then you have less to pay back.
yeah,
And we had that part of the before and then the after, right? What would you say to her? She's already on a debt. She finally got her things going. What would be a good mental emotional space to be there and maybe to pay off that debt as soon as they can or
yeah. So I've used a tool that was developed by a colleague of mine who's since retired at Utah State
mm-hmm,
University, and it's powerpay.org. And
mm-hmm,
it's completely free to log in, and you enter your debts, and you can see how long it's going to take me to pay this off.
mm-hmm,
And you can also see, so this is where what you said struck me is if someone is in the process of paying off debt, it
mm-hmm,
can be a long road and
right,
it's hard to stick to. And am I really, if I put $20 extra towards my debt, does that really help me in the long
right,
or
mm-hmm,
should I just buy another pair of shoes instead to make
mm-hmm,
me happy
mm-hmm,
today? You know,
right,
happy. And I have used that PowerPay tool. I've entered my debts as I was going through this.
mm-hmm,
And I could see what does 20, it'll let you put an extra payment and show
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm,
how fast that'll speed up your timeline and things. And I started doing that. I've done that, I've taught that. So
mm-hmm.
I was using it
Yes,
for me
uh-huh,
personally though. So this experience it really did motivate me to stick to my debt payoff plan, to not
mm-hmm,
add to my debt, and to continue as I could put extra towards that debt. And I could see that debt payoff timeline shifting and changing and speeding up, and the money and interest savings.
mm-hmm,
And it was very motivating. So
yes,
honestly, you've got to stay mentally motivated when you're paying off debt. You've
yes,
got to also reward yourself along the way. So you've got to take 20 bucks and go celebrate.
mm-hmm.
When you
Pay
hit
off one of the bills, right?
you
Yeah.
do. Yeah, that is absolutely something you're mentally have to motivate. I just think PowerPay was a tool that helped me so clearly see the benefit of sticking to my plan.
I don't remember right now, and you can help me with this. I don't remember, is the power pay smallest to largest in amount or in interest?
It'll compare all of those options side by side.
Okay, so then you
What
decide
people,
which one is
yeah,
best. Okay.
lowest, shortest term, highest balance, highest
Mhm.
interest. If you have a relative, you have a loan from a family member that
Okay,
you
uh-huh.
would like to prioritize and pay that off
Just
first.
like the IRS, huh?
Yeah, like you can do any of those, and it will show you side by side. It'll show you all of those options all together, and then you'll know here's the best for me based
Hmm.
on what I need to do. And I just have used that over and over with people. So it's a great tool.
That's wonderful. We'll link that in the show notes. So just to finish, we're gonna have some rapid fire questions for you. You ready?
Okay.
All right. What was the most useless thing that you ever bought?
Oh, probably a kitchen gadget that I never used, that I thought would be so great to have, and I still haven't used it. So
That
yeah,
you don't even remember, right?
I
There's
don't.
few of those who
Yeah,
end up getting it, right?
yeah, yeah.
And on the other side, what was something that you bought that turned out to be better than you expected?
Oh my goodness. Well, I always love spending. So this is not a thing, but I
Mhm.
love spending money on travel. I love being able to go places and have experiences with my family. And so purchasing, spending money to go on trips that turn out to be better than expected is always really, really fun. The travel. Um, that's
Okay.
really fun. Yeah.
Having that, it feels like your money had a big ROI, right?
Yes. Yes, that's good. It's always great too when you buy a new pair of shoes and they turn out to be comfortable and stylish. So, of course, there's the things that you buy as well, but I
You
sure
like
love spending
experience.
money on travel and the ROI that comes back to me and the memories afterwards
Right.
and all of it. That's so fun.
Wonderful. All right, Amanda, thank you so much for being here with us today. And do you want to share anything about how can people connect with you and the programs that you run and more conferences coming up?
Sure. Yeah, we'll be at the Women in the Money conference this September again. So we'll be helping in some different ways this year, but we'll still be there and we'll have a booth there. You can always reach me at Utah Money Matters on Instagram, and we have our website too. On the website, you can click a link to request a class. So if anybody here had a group of folks that they were interested in arranging a class for, to be taught. We typically like you to have 8 or more people, but if you click the link, you can request us to come and teach a class on really any financial topic that is helpful for them. So that's something we love to do. My team and I work to do that to fulfill all those requests. And then we have regular weekly webinars
Mm-hmm.
that you can connect with on our website as well and register for. So we teach those Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon, and they're totally free. They're a chance to empower your financial wellness. So come learn about beginning investing or credit, the myths that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes come with building credit, debt payoff. We're talking today about that. So, all the things that we do there are free and are more. We'd love to have people come check those out.
And they're great. I've taken a few of those. Those are really good. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'm so
Yeah,
glad.
of
Thank
course.
you.
And do you guys offer the replay just in case?
We do. If people are registered for the webinar,
Mm-hmm.
they can email us for a replay of
Okay.
a recording if they weren't able to make it live or if they want the replay to just study and learn.
Refresh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes you have to hear things more than once, so we're happy to
Mm-hmm.
provide that.
All right,
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you so much for your time. It has been a pleasure to get to know more of you and learn more about the things that you're doing in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And this is the end of my interview or conversation with Amanda Christensen. She is a great educator and you can learn a lot more from her. Check out the Utah Money Matters on Instagram or the website for more information on their team's weekly webinars, the classes that they can teach for you, and also the tool that they have developed to help you pay off your debt and keep moving forward. I'll see you guys next week. And remember, money's not your problem. Até breve e obrigada.